For the first time in human history, a messenger of God united both believers and seekers, those searching for truth and those fighting for people's freedom under one roof, a common ground to discuss and uphold the supremacy of God on earth. For the first time, a messenger transformed a religion into a global call during his own lifetime, drawing people from across nations, languages, and backgrounds. This historic gathering unfolded in the humble town of Crewe, England. At the local university, in a venue of just 60 people, the Supremacy of God Conference took place. The event was open to the community, welcoming locals and all who wished to learn more about this rising faith, the Ahmadi religion of peace and light.
We are delighted to welcome you here this morning. We are super excited about the conference today, which is the Supremacy of God Conference.
The atmosphere was vibrant and deeply personal. Scholars specializing in the study of new religious movements presented their research and observations about this community. Their role was not to affirm belief, but to document, analyze, and speak factually, whilst upholding the principle of freedom of belief.
I would say I'm a Roman Catholic. I believe in that other Pope in the Vatican, but I will give my life to affirm your right to say that you have the real Pope. So. Having said so, as we say in the beginning, we are not here to affirm or to deny the truth of your theology. That's not the job of the scholars.
Civic leaders such as the Mayor of Crewe and Cheshire East Council councillors attended. Representatives from NGOs, media outlets including ITV and BBC, independent filmmakers, and members of minority faiths all sat side by side in the audience, witnessing something unprecedented. The conference unfolded in rich and diverse sessions, artistic expressions, a human rights workshop, and moving moments where words were written for humanity, for those imprisoned or killed for their faith in the religion.
The Ahmadi religion has taken the initiative for the second time in the 2 years to be scrutinized quite openly by a wide range of academics, scholars in religious and philosophical studies, lawyers and human rights defenders. And this openness and this transparency and this desire for introspection need to be stressed as well.
At the heart of the gathering were the presentations. The day opened with Massimo Intervene, founder and managing director of Chesnall. He gave a strong and powerful introduction, presenting the beliefs of AROPL accurately and without bias, whilst affirming the need to stand up for freedom of belief.
The AROPL announced the future institution of something called the Divine Just State, which will not be a Western-style democracy, but an end-time kingdom, and it will be more similar to Plato's kingdom of the philosopher kings than to any state we know. But they believe their community gathered around Mahdi here in the United Kingdom is a seed of the future kingdom and the divine just state, and they try to demonstrate that a just state is possible by living together in peace and treating, as they say, others well. And I see no evidence that this claim is not true, despite some journalistic slander to the contrary.
This was then followed by Hadil El-Khouly, Human Rights Coordinator of AROPL, with her session, AROPL vs. Mainstream Islam and Why They Are Persecuted. She explained in depth the roots of the opposition the religion faces.
The seventh covenant, which is the covenant that we are in today, that we believe comes with new laws and new jurisprudence that are different from the ones that were in Prophet Muhammad's time. So many of these new laws are summarized or are written in the Goal of the Wise. Since the release of the book, we've seen a wave of persecution in the Arab world, in Algeria, Iran, Iraq, Morocco, Turkey, even religious decrees. Some governments like Algeria issuing a religious decree labeling members of the faith to be heretic, to be blasphemous, because of the idea that laws do change, that the jurisprudence is not fixed, that there is a messenger in this day and age who can reinstate new laws that are appropriate to this day and age.
So far, the presentations have shown that the Ahmadi religion of peace and light is centered on humanity first and progressive beliefs. Yet, across Muslim-majority countries, its followers face widespread persecution. The main issue? Its living messenger, Abba Sadiq, claims the role of the lawmaker, proven from the Abrahamic books, where every covenant, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, came with new laws for their time. This same criteria applies to him and is presented with evidence from the Abrahamic scriptures. But this belief, though rooted in scripture, has stirred deep controversy and brought hardship to his followers. Next was Professor Arya Razvar from the University of Illinois, Chicago. His talk, The Divine ABCs and Literacy. The Rise of Ahmadi Knowledge and Consciousness explored how the Goal of the Wise, the central text of AROPL, revives the dimension of language, reconnecting it to divine knowledge, long buried under dogma.
You can see that if you put the disjoint letters together, you get the name Ahmed, which means praiseworthy, noble. And then you can see also it's the Hebrew meaning of Judah, right? So the word Judah and Ahmed are the same term. I mean, you go around the world, everyone thinks the Arabs and the Jews are inherent enemies of each other. But in this symbol, you can see that there's this absolute unity that is predicted and projected. And that is something that we have to think through, because that is not intuitive to the world today. We had previously mentioned in Door 20 that the Imam from his peace stated that the entire world would speak the easiest language on the planet by the year 2050, which is English. This means that the official language in the Divine Just State will be English as well.
This revelation fascinated the crowd, not only the idea of unifying language and symbols, but especially for those from an English-speaking background. The Ahmadi religion of peace and light teaches that the Divine Just State, to be established by the Mahdi, will have English as its language. From Poland, Professor Karolina Maria of Jagiellonian University spoke on what can a soul do.
Transmigration and divine dreams in the Ahmadi religion of peace and light.
A beautiful exploration of the complex inner world of the religion. One of the topics that drew thousands to believe in Abdullah Hashim Abba Sadiq was his profound knowledge of the soul world. This teaching attracted many to the faith. For the audience, especially the believers, it was a historic moment to witness scholars present his insights on such a complex and profound subject. Read aloud from the award-winning book authored by the Mahdi himself, The Goal of the Wise. The audience then heard from Susan Palmer, a sociologist and leading scholar of new religious movements. Drawing from her time at AROPL headquarters, she presented why individuals chose to join, from strong human rights commitments to logical scriptural proofs to divine experiences such as meditation and dreams that drew them to the Mahdi Abu-Sadiq.
Many gave credit to Abdullah Hashem, regarding him as a role model that pointed to a better society in which all citizens strive to be unselfish and giving. To understand how and why people joined this NRM, it's necessary to examine the trajectory of Abdullah Hashem's charismatic career. This can be divided into 3 phases. The first phase is the arrivals. This series, 52 episodes, 5 to 15 minutes each, became immensely popular among Muslim students in Europe and the Middle East. It also had a cult following among older watchers and, of course, non-Muslims. Based on the interviews, the appeal seemed to include the appeal seemed to reside in Hashem's talent as an intro to world religions teacher. You know, I used to teach intro to world religion teaching, and I wish I'd known about the arrivals because it would have been really great for my class.
The Journeys read had one thing in common. It was the early days of the Arrivals and Tad's documentary series that awakened people to the reality of the world that they live in, and they could not get enough and wished to know the mystery figure behind this awakening. Another powerful session was delivered by Professor Holly Folk from Western Washington University. In her talk, A New Monotheist Tradition, she shared insights from living among the community, observing their daily practices and breaking bread with them.
A rising question is to think about AROPL as not just a new religious movement, but new religious movements that's already demonstrated some success at a difficult social experiment. So that's kind of interesting and to me exciting. And it is helpful and useful to recognize that BASE offers many essentials of daily life. People work, there's a small clinic, there's a hair salon. Now, for people who do live on BASE, the standard of living is very high, especially for parents of young children, but for people overall. I have visited a variety of communes. I've seen the way that property is distributed and shared happen in many different locations. And what I can say is I really didn't get any sense that people were deprived materially in terms of food, in terms of clothing or other accommodations. Every single person I saw who was an adult had a cell phone. Everybody I talked to had a computer. They had access to private Netflix streaming accounts and other types of social media, including things that were services that you'd subscribe to. And so, in other words, I think that when people have a desire for a personal need, it's definitely fulfilled, and also a great deal of their quote-unquote wants on top of needs. For parents who are raising kids, this is a wonderful environment. There's also a variety of activities for the kids almost every weekend in the summertime. When I was there, I stayed a few extra days so I could see the dinosaur exposition where they brought in some puppets with very, very large dinosaur puppets. And the kids had a really wonderful time, and I did so too. When I was talking to AROPL members, I was asking them how they spent their downtime and what they did for recreation, and I was really looking for what they were doing kind of as individuals. And yet the answer that they gave to me most often was, we like to hang out with each other. And I realized that when people had an opportunity to socialize, what they really wanted to do was socialize in groups and socialize with members of the community. There's a game room where you can play pool and do other stuff like that. They do have outdoor barbecues and fire pits. There's a group of guys who play soccer. There's now a group of women who also play soccer. There's a walking group that meets daily for fitness at lunchtime. There's also a book group which right now is reading Plato's Republic, which I thought was really sort of fun to learn about. So that is to say that on the one hand, AROPL has accepted people who've arrived without jobs, without a lot of assets, without resources, and they've been welcomed if they accept the message of Abu-Sadiq. But on the other hand, AROPL also has many members who have strong educations, who've achieved, a lot of success in their professions, And this provides certain structural advantages to AROPL in terms of people being able to make a living. It also ratchets up the educational and intellectual level of the community, and I think that that becomes really kind of a collective draw.
Her thorough and respectful research left a deep impression, and she actively contributed during a Q&A session, enriching the dialogue even further.
It's sort of a question, but it's also some feedback. As somebody who was born and brought up in Crewe, and I'm now the local councillor for Cheshire East Council in the area around what I now is called the base. I've learnt, and my colleague here today, Sally, we've learnt so much today, and I feel as if a door has been opened, and we've seen so much. It's been so interesting to understand the origins of the theology. But I think this last session, we've seen real people, and that's been an insight as well. So what I think we want to ask now is, how can we help the believers and the community at the base to counteract all the negative stuff that is out there, the type of things that the taxi driver had said. Lots of people are saying it to me as their local representative. And how can we help you and work with you to be more involved perhaps with the community and open up their minds, open up your community to them and open up their minds. We've got Queen's Park opposite. There's lots of events in Queen's Park, and at those events there are opportunities for local community groups to have a stall and maybe put on an activity or display or something, and there might be something suitable in the future that we're representing Cheshire East Council and Crewe Town Council, and also local community groups we're involved with. So hopefully we can work together for everyone to have more understanding and the fear to be dispelled. Thank you.
That's wonderful. Yes.
Can I would love to. So as a member of the faith, I would say that thank you first of so much for coming, you and Mayor Sally Graham. And I think this is exactly what happens when we meet and we talk and we listen to each other's stories. And I had this experience several times now over the past a month or so, that with all of the fears and the worries, what we do and what you do on our sides, we say, well, let's actually get together and talk to each other. And every time we did that, just recently in Crewe, we had an event which we called Beanies and Burgers, and we had members of the local community, and maybe some of the people that are here were there. Perfect. So we had members from the local community who came and we ate burgers together and got to know each other, and a lot of that worries and fears just went away. So we definitely would love to, that's really what we love to do, to engage more with the local community, to build more bridges, to have more events. And our doors are open, and we would love to engage with you more, and hopefully in future events in Crewe, in the local community, where I hope we can do more events together and reach out and be around each other. Thank you so much. Thank you.
On one thing that Eileen, you'd said you wanted to know more about the individual members, and the individual from the city government, the council was speaking, and I wanted to kind of say one other thing that would maybe sort of speak to both of those people, and that is, it's very important, I think, for the community to understand, not the AROPL community, but the broader British community, to understand that a lot of the members here are actually UK citizens, and a lot of people who are our arrivals here are actually already citizens of countries in the EU. And so there's a perception on the basis of the ethnic background of a lot of people to think about this as a community that is entirely migrant-based. But there are a lot of members who are not just British, but they actually grew up in the Black country. And one of the things that was really amusing to me was to learn about the Yamyang dialect from some of the members who'd grown up in and around Dudley. And so I think that one thing that I hope people can really sort of appreciate is that this is actually a community that has a very strong UK British background. Members have had families here who've been in the country for generations now.
The first day closed with the screening of a documentary produced by AROPL Studios, Understanding the Achaemenid Religion of Peace and Light, which answered many lingering questions and moved hearts in the audience.
I come for all those lost children of God. I come to say to you, your Father is here.
In listening to the way that Al-Sadiq describes what religion can do, the possibilities that are at our hands right now, if any religion can actually save the human condition today, it's this one. If any call can reach out and pick up the broken and the homeless from their condition and raise them up, it's the call of Al-Sadiq.
And this is why believers are pledging their allegiance to the banner that says, allegiance is to God.
Curses on fatwas and any cursing upon us with a personal vendetta. There's not a person who can get us unless it's in a celestial sense. Mentally get us. 12 mentees got me feeling like the best of the best and the death on my chest. East to west, birth to death, they're turning kit to my bleeding, beating heart.
Day 2 of the conference saw the hall packed once again. The sessions opened with Mark Neems, Hungarian historian, philosopher, and deputy director of Chesnall. His paper, A Narrowing Covenant with God, Verification Mechanisms in AROPL, traced the 7 covenants from Adam through Noah, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, Muhammad, and finally, the 7th covenant with the Mahdi, Abdullah Hashim Abu-Sadiq.
My main subject, however, was the concept of the evolving, or rather, gradually revealing and developing divine law. My primary sources for this examination were Abdullah Hashem's 2022 book, The Goal of the Wise, his 2024 book, The Mahdi's Manifesto, as well as the first English chapter of the most recently published 2025 book, The Divine Jurisprudence.
Following him, Dr. Gordon Milton from Baylor University, Texas, one of the pioneering scholars of New Religious Studies, spoke on AROPL's mission to establish a divine just state for the sake of all of humanity.
AROPL offers an evolutionary millennial vision, sees the group prospering over the next century and the gradual development of the divine just state from a small community into a significant global community that will offer the world a spectrum of positive values.
You, Professor.
Welcome. Hello, everyone. It's good to be back.
The second session was powerful. Willy Fortray, founder and director of Human Rights Without Frontiers in Brussels, gave testimony on the persecution faced by AROPL.
This is the phenomenon that we have been witnessing for several years, but the obstacles are numerous and cumulative. The financial resources to go to Europe, the illegal exit from repressive countries, the crossing of borders, seas and rivers, dangerous places, the arrest in third countries, the life and security in refugee camps, as we heard about Turkey, the entry procedures into a democratic country, the administrative hurdles and living conditions inside Europe, awaiting a response for their request to their application for the status of asylum seeker, the risk of being denied this status, and the risk of deportation back to the country of oppression.
He shed light on the plight of 104 members who, after fleeing torture, sought refuge at the Turkish-Bulgarian border, only to face further suffering in what he described as virtual concentration camp conditions. Hans Newt of the Gerard Newt Foundation then presented AROPL's encounter with European cultures. He explored how language and culture shape perceptions of God and drew comparisons to the early struggles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
AROPL has elements in its teachings that may resonate strongly with European values. Emphasizing them may help you in a way that AROPL is received by the outside community. For example, you present yourself as progressive and reformist. It emphasizes peace, equality, and freedom of belief. It teaches that women should not be forced to wear the hijab, and it shows openness towards the LGBTQ individuals. These positions, though controversial in some parts in the Islamic world, align well with European ideals of personal freedom and human dignity.
Adding to this, Martin Waitman, director of the All Faiths Network, shared A Strange Story, the persecution of AROPL in Sweden. His presentation detailed the state-led discrimination and harassment endured by members there.
On the 10th of September 2020, more than 20 police officers arrived at the premises with 7 police vehicles and eventually a group of over at least 5 SWAT officers in combat gear, as you can see here. Pretty heavy chaps. The property was cordoned off, no one could leave, and the police did not produce a search warrant when asked.
The audience then viewed a televised address by the Mahdi Abasadek, directly responding to Sweden's persecution campaign. Dr. Alessandro Amisarelli, a human rights lawyer in London, presented Islamic radicalism versus AROPL in the UK. He contrasted the inclusive, humanistic call of AROPL with the hatred preached by extremists, and exposed the smear campaigns run by major British outlets such as The Guardian, Vice, and Daily Mail. A particularly striking session came from Rosita Soit, a Lithuanian diplomat with 25 years service at UNESCO and the United Nations. She presented research on New Age anti-cultism, focusing on figures such as B. Schofield, whose writings rooted in astrology, physics, and even extraterrestrial encounters.
So the first is B. Schofield, whose legal name, which is very interesting, whose legal name may still be Robert James Schofield,
have nevertheless been cited by mainstream media in attacks against AROPL. Her findings raised serious questions about the credibility of modern journalism. There was also a comprehensive presentation by Hadil El-Kouli in her role as Human Rights Coordinator for AROPL and Amnesty UK, offering detailed analysis of the persecution the religion faces in Muslim-majority countries.
And of course, the idea that the faith says, if you're not appointed by God, you are a scholar, you do not get to tell people to follow you blindly. And that was a reason why Iran has labeled this faith actually a threat to their national security.
The second day ended with a human rights workshop, creative performances, including
the right way and learn what it means to truly pray. I want to meet my fellow addicts, you see, who have put drug addiction behind them. I want to not get mad at everything that happens to me. I want to learn from the Mahdi what it means to finally have peace, not half peace, not a piece of peace, but true victory through assisting the truth, persisting to help fellow believers.
And moments of reflection as attendees shared thoughts with one another.
Thank you very much to all of you. Some of you have been terrific, others of you have been terrific, and the rest of you have all been terrific. Thank you very much, Yudi Ziyomastikan.
I wanted to give a special thank you to Professor Massimo and Professor Rasfar. Both of you have really guided us and helped us on this journey. And if it wasn't for you, none of this would have happened. So a very special thank you to both of you. Thank you very much.
The final day of the conference was magical. Believers and seekers were invited to the headquarters of the religion. They toured the historic Webb House. Shared meals. And most importantly, met with the riser Abu Sadiq. Faith was in the air. Some chose not to leave at all, insisting they wished to remain with the community. The day closed with a filmed interview with Massimo Introvine, who reflected on the conference, the book, The Goal of the Wise, and the importance of studying and documenting this new religion in the face of media distortion. And so, the Supremacy of God Conference drew to a close, marking an historic moment in history of religion, where scholars, leaders, seekers, and believers came together to witness a new faith's voice rise on the world stage, a unique faith that has a living messenger with them.